I want to introduce you guys to a millionaire designer, one of the best to ever do it in San Jose Bay Area. I met him 3 years ago and he has completely blew me away with the level of design aspect and the artistry this guy has. Matt Daly. Tell us how you got where you are today.
Yeah, so I started where a lot of people started in this industry, pushing a lawnmower and trying to make, $20 here, there, trying to hopefully get 3 or 4 neighbors next to each other and make a quick $80. But I did that for a long time, and after I graduated from college, I went into landscape sales, so selling backyards for construction providers. Lights, plants, stone, anything, you name it, and just did that for a long time until I found design.
So your entire background of your growing up culture has always been in landscaping.
Yeah, besides college, definitely.
Why did you choose landscaping? What interests you about landscaping?
I liked being outside. I was a late bloomer. I went to college late. I graduated late. A lot of my buddies had already been in the workforce for a few years, and we would get together at the bar on a weeknight, and they'd be just crying about their cubicle jobs. And was not trying to do that. So
And you said, I'm not doing that. I'm
I
staying
went and
outside.
Bought a lawnmower, yeah.
Nice. And when did you first start mowing lawns? How did you get into it?
Well, it's cutting grass as most younger guys do, in junior high. But then once I graduated college and decided I didn't want that cubicle life, I just started cutting grass and collecting names. That was before YouTube or Facebook or anything, so it was a lot harder. Yellow pages and yard signs and that kind of stuff. So cutting grass, mow and blow kind of stuff.
After all that, where did you get the idea to start drawing designs? How old were you? What happened?
I don't remember exactly the course of events, but I remember that I was tired of being a salesman and I wanted to hop into the design side so I could be the first man in or first person in on the project and capture the entire scope. And I ended up going to a certification course where I learned all about construction, horticulture, and design. And then I sort of learned the design in that program, but was also learning it out in the field as I started taking design responsibility from the sales guys I was working for.
And did you hand draw the design or on the computer?
Everything was hand drawn in the beginning.
Wow. And how did you learn? Did you just practice with one of those fancy little rulers with circles and triangles everywhere?
Yeah, well, I was in school taking classes taught by landscape designers and architects that were already in the area where I was. So I was learning from the guys who I would eventually be competing against. And now a lot of those people have aged out. A few of them are still around, but they're the dinosaurs that are still hand drawing. So they're easy to get a leg up on.
And you were 18, 19, 20?
No, this was after college. So I went to undergrad. I did 4 years, 5 years of undergrad, and then this was after that.
What did you go to undergrad for? Landscape design?
Sociology.
Oh, so not landscape design.
Not landscape design.
Oh, so college is a scam.
Okay, it was a waste of money. It was a waste of my parents' money.
So now you're 22, 23 years old, and you're dipping your feet into getting some nice design jobs.
Yes.
Do you remember what your first customer that hired you, how much did they pay you?
Oh, probably $200 or $300.
Wow.
Yeah, which was...
That's a big deal.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah. And did you deliver?
I delivered a drawing. Was it accurate? No. It didn't go very well, but I delivered.
So how did you, because obviously the first one was very difficult to do.
Yeah.
And what made you go to the second, third, fourth, fifth design?
I think just the desire of wanting to be better. And my mom was a graphic designer growing up, and I would see her raise the family and then go draw for all evening. So I really wanted to become a better artist, and I wanted to learn the industry, and I wanted to be doing the big projects. So you got to get through the little ones first, and I knew that.
Did you, as a designer, ever think maybe I can be a designer and I can have my own construction company at the same time?
I did, and I kind of tried that. I was doing designs, and we were installing patios and cutting grass and that kind of stuff, but I was just really bad at running a business. I was bad at employees, and I didn't really want to rely on anybody but myself. So I sort of decided that it would be better if I was the designer and then relying on people like you to build the projects.
How old were you when you had that realization?
I'd say 22.
22. You still got in early. That's pretty awesome. And what town were you in? Where in Virginia?
So I started in Richmond, Virginia, where I went to college.
And you still live there today?
I do. I with there a brief stint here in the Bay Area, but yes, I started in Richmond, moved out to the Bay Area, and moved back to Richmond when the pandemic started.
Okay, we'll get to the whole Bay Area in a little bit. So as a kiddo, and you were 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
And what's the most amount of money you made as a 22-year-old designer?
I mean, not much. It was pennies.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew how to cook a potato every single way for those first few years because I was not making any money. I don't even remember, but
Were you still living with your parents at the time, or solo?
I was living with roommates in a house like where a bunch of guys that had just graduated were living. So it was a bunch of guys trying to figure it out.
Were your parents supportive of you becoming a designer, or did they want you to do something else?
Yeah, my mom was supportive. You know, she with the art background, she was definitely into it. I think there was a little bit of hesitancy with my dad, but you know, my dad's a business guy. I wanted me, maybe he didn't want me to be a business guy, but well, I kind of am a business guy now, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So they were into it. They wanted me to be happy.
Okay.
I was a punk, so as long as I was doing something, they were happy.
That's good. That's good. So now you're 22, 23 years old. And when was the time that you finally were sitting down and you're like, wow, dude, I made a ton of money? How old were you?
Well, I don't think that really happened until I first moved to California.
Oh, so California was your big...
California was the big break.
Wow.
When I realized, you know, getting on Yelp and getting the phone to ring, I realized I could... coming from a place where I was charging maybe a little bit less than $1,000 for a design to somewhere where we can charge several thousands of dollars, and then starting where we started when I first moved here to where we are now, I mean, it's multiplied by 10 easily.
Yeah. So you were... What was the reason you moved to California, by the way?
My partner at the time worked for a local company, and she was remote, and they wanted her to be on site.
And then you're like, screw it, I'm going to California. Have you ever been to San Jose?
I had. I lived in Los Angeles when I was a kid for a while, but we were only supposed to come for 6 months. And then I realized my side gig that I was doing here, I was just going to take that 6 months off. I started designing a few projects and realized I could make a lot of money. So we stayed.
How did you get your first customer in the Bay Area? Do you remember her?
Craigslist, I think.
Do you remember her?
Craigslist.
Was it a woman?
Yeah. Susan and Alan Marani in Los Gatos. Yeah.
So you put an ad on Craigslist,
Yes,
and they hired you.
they did.
How much?
I charged them probably $2,400 for the design.
And that's huge.
That was big at the time.
You were thinking, damn, I hit it big.
I did, and I was also working with one landscape contractor at the time, and they were giving me a little hourly gig as well. So I was making design money on the front end, kind of hourly on the back end, and it was good. It was a good spot to be.
And did you ever... so that $2,400 that you got hired on, was it a hand-drawn or all computer?
That was all computer.
Wow, so you're already legit.
I was all computer by the time I got here,
Yeah.
which is a good place to be.
Yeah.
All computer. So
So the very first design, $2,400, how long did that take you to complete? And what was your hourly rate based off of that whole design that you did?
I don't remember. Well, do you mean what does it break down into hourly? Or,
Yeah, like
okay.
how many hours did you spend building it, designing it?
Not long. I probably had about 30 hours into the entire process, from design to contractor engagement to back-end support.
So like $80 an hour.
Ish.
That's good.
It was great.
That's really good.
I was very happy.
Especially for a 27, 28-year-old kid. Yeah. That's big money for your very first design in the Bay Area. So after that, what made you go to the second, third? Did you ever think, man, I should charge more money?
I did, but you can very easily start charging too much and price yourself out of the market. So I decided that instead of raising my prices too much, that I would bring on help to help me design, and then I could take more clients. So for every additional person I brought on, I could take an additional 5 clients. So 4 people, 20 clients at a time. And that's what we do now.
That's tough.
Yeah, it sucks sometimes.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
Yeah.
But it works out. It works out.
Yeah. So your very first year in California, what did you close the year at? How much money did you make in sales?
Yeah, in sales, it was around $400K.
That's huge
Yeah, it was great.
for the first year.
Yes.
And all you're doing is sitting behind a computer and drawing. And at the time, you were drawing everything yourself.
I was.
Yeah. And now you're not.
No,
Now
now
you
we
have-
have
you
a
have
team
people.
of 4 or 5 people.
That's big.
Yeah.
So you fell in love with California.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I love California.
And you stayed here for another 3 years.
That's right.
And you got your feet wet. And now, I remember in 2017, this is when I first started doing the whole landscaping thing. I was getting on Yelp. I was doing everything I could, getting reviews. And then you reached out to me.
I did. I remember where I was standing when I did that.
And what did you say? What did you say to me?
I think I said, do you need a designer?
Yeah.
Right. And you said, buzz off.
Well, no, I didn't.
You did.
I did?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Wow, that was rude, I guess. If I could go back and change one thing, it'd be that.
Imagine where we'd be now.
I know. Okay, so you're a designer now. You're very well known, and you started the whole journey on Yelp like I did.
Yeah.
And I remember at a time where I was like number one on Yelp, and then out of nowhere, this guy just kept creeping, and then he passed me. And I was like, what the heck? How is he number one? So I reached out to him, and I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Hmm.
And then that's when we connected, and we became friends.
Yeah.
And I saw you one day. I was driving by at a job site, and you were in your truck, and you're like, hey, this is me. And I got out and I met you in person.
Hmm.
And that was pretty cool. This was like 2019. And where has your life gone from the kid that came here to now?
Yeah, I mean, it's been just a complete 180. You know, I came here not knowing anything about the industry, knowing the industry, how to design, but not knowing sort of the local industry, which I know like the back of my hand, as you do as well.
Yeah.
I know how to talk to people that make a lot more money than I do. You know, living in Virginia at the time, I mean, there were still those people, obviously, but you know, these tech people and just executives and people that are making 7-8 figures a year, and being comfortable around those people, I was always had a lot of anxiety about, and to how to be profitable, how to make money, how not to lose money, and how to sort of take a project through design development, get it to a guy like you, and then we sort of double team the client to make sure that it goes smoothly.
And your very first big design, do you remember? Because your clients are very high profile, and they make a ton of money, like you said,
Yeah.
and they expect a certain level of excellence with construction along with design. What was, I remember specifically, you told me one time, you're like, dude, as soon as I found out that I should be charging customers more, better customers came my way.
Absolutely.
What was that like? How did you even come across that?
I don't even remember. When I first moved to California, I was not charging enough, and a local landscape architect got very mad at me. And we went out and I had coffee, and she told me that if I was going to do,
Did she reach out to you?
yes,
What did she say?
she just said, "Hey, we need to talk."
Uh-huh.
They weren't happy.
Yeah.
The inner circle wasn't happy because I was charging what I was charging. So they basically told me I needed to start charging more so I could help support the local market.
Which is true.
Right.
Yeah.
And from there it was just building on what I thought was needed. I kind of forgot the question.
What was it like when you charged the customer more
Yeah.
and you had better people coming?
Yeah. I think any consumer, us included, when you're in a store and say you're looking at applesauce, you're going to wonder why the most expensive applesauce is more expensive than the cheapest, right? A lot of people are going to gravitate towards the most expensive. I think that's true in any other industry as well as the home services.
Yes.
So if I'm charging $15,000, they're going to wonder what they are getting more than the person that's charging $5,000. So as long as I can make sure that I'm at least outpacing the $5,000 designer by 3 times, everyone's happy.
And that's what that lady did to you at the coffee shop.
Well,
She sat you down.
she sat me down,
Yeah.
and she basically told me that we were not charging enough, and that we would be putting businesses out of business that had been here for a long time. And she kind of explained the whole thing, and I'm glad she did that because I might still be charging $1,700.
What were you charging when she reached out to you?
Like, close to nothing.
Yeah. And then what did you start charging when she had that conversation with you?
I think I doubled it.
So you went to like somewhere close to $5,000.
Well, so I was at it was 17, 24, 34, then I went to 54, then I went to 72, and then I went to 9, and I got scared at 9. I was stuck at 9 for a long time.
Wow.
Then I went to 12 and a half, and then we kind of got to 15 when things were crazy during the pandemic, and then
Yeah.
it kind of just turned into 15 to 25K.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge. 25,000 for a design.
Yeah, we have a couple right now.
Yeah. And from a 2,400, you literally 10x.
Yeah.
You literally 10x. That's crazy. And did you notice that the quality of customer was much better?
Yeah, the quality of clients better. We got more projects of sort of like-minded individuals, but when you have someone spending that much money on planning services and they're going to spend that times 20 on construction services, those are also the people that have afforded a lifestyle where they can kind of be at home as much as they want.
Yes.
So people are always out kind of looking, what are they doing in the design stage and kind of the site analysis stage, and then construction, as you know, it can get a little finicky. So
Yes.
it's a higher quality project, but not always a higher quality client. Sorry.
So as a solo designer back then,
Yeah.
when did you hire your very first employee, and what gave you the courage to do that?
So knowing that to spread my wings and capture larger projects and
Yep.
capture more of them, that I had to have people working with me. And so I worked with a few freelance people for a while, and that was good, but I wanted more. So I basically have some subcontractors that mostly spend their days with me. And there's 1 to 4, all with have design educations that design with me on water and earth projects.
So you have 4 now.
Four
That's
designers.
that's a lot of employees.
Well, they're not employees.
They're designers.
They're subcontractors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they do their own thing, and you just manage and house everything.
That's right. That's right. So I basically manage the process for the clients, and then have subcontractors that work with me, but they all have their own things going on. You know, in the design world, things can slow down and ramp up at the drop of a hat. So I didn't really want to ever have a situation where I would have to lay off a bunch of
That's true.
employees.
That's true.
And if they all have their own thing going on, I don't have to feel bad about not giving them work.
And at the end of the day, though, who's responsible for all the communication with the customer? Is it you or the actual designer?
Well, myself, because I'm involved in most of the projects.
Yeah.
You know, a few of those people have the majority of the communication. But if something hits the fan, even if I'm not part of that conversation, I'm still liable.
Got it. So if it has to be, it's up to you.
That's right.
It's all on you.
It's all on me.
It's your plate.
It's all me.
Okay. So where the fuck, Coach, where are we going now? So the team is done. What was after the team?
CT.
Oh, that's right. Okay, CT. Okay. So I've actually known Matt for many, many years, and we did a couple small jobs together, but there was one specific person where he reached out to me and he said, T, you would have the best vibe with this guy. You guys would get along so well. I want to introduce you to a dude, and you'd be perfect to do his job.
Right.
So that guy was CT. He's a very well-known real estate agent in the Bay Area. He's super cool. One of my favorite
He's
people
definitely cool dude.
ever. He's just very relaxed, and he makes decisions fast, which I love. Because some of the things that normally people will consult you about, he was like, no, I want this.
Right.
He knew that.
Well, he'd done his research.
Yeah. So we got on there, and it was one of my most beautiful projects I've ever
Yeah,
completed.
it was a nice one.
And we had a pickleball court. Matt did such a cool design with the stairs, pickleball court, infinity. Okay, stairs, pickleball court. Fuck me. Stairs, pickleball court, infinity pool, and then a deck. This is the picture right here. You can go throw it, Rosa. Yeah, this is the picture right here, and this is the completed one. What gave you that inspiration to do something like this? Because did you ever do a job like this before?
I hadn't. You know, the client had a very descript sort of vibe they wanted to go for, kind of that Bel Air, LA kind of thing. So that was kind of the reason for the deck, the water, the turf for them to lounge in, and just kind of taking what they wanted and applying it to the space that they had to do it in. You know, there was, I'm not sure if you remember that yard, but it started high and
Yes.
then kind of dipped low, right? There wasn't a lot of stuff that you could do. It was great for an infinity edge pool, but the rest was really just kind of sticking in where it fit.
That's true. That's the best rule of thumb. Always stick it in where it fits. Thank you. After that job, everything went perfectly fine, and you specifically had a very bad taste in your mouth left with the pool contractor that was there.
Yeah.
And you actually told me, I'm done with this guy. I'm so mad at him. I never want to see him again. And I thought I wasn't really involved in the pool project, but you were more heavily involved in all the little things. And I know some things went wrong with the water levels. That's huge. And if the pool wasn't on, there was no infinity edge.
Well, they built the infinity edge crooked,
Yeah.
so there was more water going off of one side and no water going off the other side. So
And that's
it was
a big mess up.
Pretty big mess up.
That's a big mess up. So you said, I'm never dealing with this guy again. He's fired. I don't want to talk to him. And you actually burned that bridge with him
Yeah.
right then and there.
Choice words,
Yeah.
one text,
Yeah.
kill it, it's
Done.
over.
And later on, I completed everything. I moved on, and I went to another job I did with Matt. This one right here. This is one of the most craziest, cool-looking jobs ever. It looks fake, and these guys were super, super nice. I loved working with the homeowners. They were fantastic. And it was in a place of the Bay Area where it was difficult to do anything. It's in a cul-de-sac. And they didn't have crazy amount of space. And you packed in such a cool design with what was it called?
Sunken.
With a sunken pit and retaining walls, sick pergola, and amazing. What was the inspiration behind that design?
That was just trying to make it a little bit different. With the Eichler homes, you can kind of get a little weirder because the houses look kind of weird. So it was really just trying to fit things in. They were really concerned about their neighbors. On those cul-de-sac lots, you could share a fence line with 5 or 6 people sometimes. And so most of the homes behind them were rental homes. So, renters don't always care as much as homeowners do. So they were trying to kind of get screening from the noise of the renters.
Yes.
So we thought by walking down and then sitting down in the space, it would help to sort of alleviate the noise.
And they even said, I remember talking to them, they even said, we kind of just let Matt do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
They had no pushback.
No.
They loved your design.
We get about one of those a quarter. There's a significant budget, and they kind of just let us do what we want to do.
And they were
best.
they were older. They were like 50s, 60s, and this was Mike even told me, he's like, I'm gonna die here. I don't care. And they just went all out.
They did.
They did.
And it looks great.
Yeah. And I personally went through a little bit of a headache and a hiccup with the pergola contractor, and I want to know your stories with bad contractors. I know you deal with contractors way, way more than I do.
Yeah.
And what has been, give me a nightmare story, because I'm sure everyone wants to know.
I mean, there's some bad ones. I mean, from just completely walking away with a lot of money to building things like crooked swimming pools, and even going into landscape contractors that aren't doing anything on the house and somehow damaging or compromising the house that major fixes need to happen. So deal with a lot of contractors, a lot of different specialty tradesmen, and there's always something going wrong on one of the projects.
What was one that sticks out in your memory?
One of my best, just funniest, biggest ordeals was I was working with a contractor on a project where they had to cut a lot of rebar for the concrete, and they were cutting the rebar right next to the client's new windows. And so what happened was, as they were cutting the rebar, it was getting
sparks.
molten and going against the glass. And so when the window cleaners came over, there was on every single window of the downstairs of the home, they couldn't clean it all the way, and it was just molten glass that had melted. They had to replace all the windows.
That cost how much?
Too much, probably.
Jeez, that's crazy. And what happens when you refer a contractor to a homeowner and it goes south? Because sometimes that's happened.
We're working on a couple of those right now that were the contractor that we were working with we brought in 2 or 3 contractors. One of them won the bid, and then they sort of just lost interest and the project went south. And that happens, and usually attorneys are involved, and it gets sticky. But typically a client that's spending $500,000 is just going to, they're going to be mad, but they're going to get over it, and they're going to add to the team, attorneys and all that, who they need to, and they're going to find somebody new. So of the 2 situations we have going on right now, we have replaced that contractor with new contractors, and back to basically starting the project over again.
Because when a homeowner completes the design with you, and do they go out looking for contractors, or do they depend on you to give them referrals?
So the relationships are all ours. So we make all the introductions.
Yeah.
We invite the contractors to visit the property and to bid on the design, and then we vet those numbers with our clients to make sure that they're making the most educated decision.
You're involved in everything.
Everything.
And one of the things that was really cool for me was for Mike and David, I placed my bid, and I placed it was somewhere close to like $350,000. It was a lot of money. And I wasn't really sure I was going to get it. And then Matt actually told me, he's like, later on in the process, he's like, you were actually $60,000 higher than the other guy.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
And I was like, I still got it?
Yeah. So
And it was all because of his referral, because the homeowner trusts the designer, because they worked with you for a very long time.
on the design,
how many months?
I probably took 4 or 5 months to figure that out.
Hours and hours of Zoom calls.
Too many, yeah.
You had a very good connection with them. So at this point, they trusted you. And that's the very big thing that you have to understand when you link up with a designer, architect. Homeowners trust them. So even if you're higher than them, than the other guy, they'll still hire you just because they want to limit all the drama.
Less
of
noise.
Saving a couple bucks.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, 60 grand is no easy feat.
No, no. But it's people are willing to pay higher numbers for quality. I mean, I had told that client specifically that you were the person before anybody saw any numbers. So when you come in higher, it's not as big of a blow because they were already told that was going to happen.
Yeah. And we did deliver. We did deliver. That job turned out fantastic. And the homeowner was super happy. And there was a lot of things that we had to learn on that job because I hired a guy that does pergolas. That was a specialty. And he ruined the entire thing. And I had to, well, not me personally, but Jose stepped up and all the guys at Applewood stepped up and they really had to learn a craft, which cost a ton of money in labor, but we still got it done. And at the end of the day, the homeowner's super happy and he won't go out and ruin your name and talk smack about you.
Right.
Because a customer that's mad is going to talk smack about you to everybody. But a customer that's happy might only say a couple of nice things to like 3-4 people.
Absolutely. That's true.
And that happens all the time.
Right.
So now, fast forward to 2023, almost 2024.
Yeah.
You're a very successful designer, very well known. People
Yes.
reach out to you. There's a waiting list to even get on a project with you.
Yes.
I'm a homeowner. I have millions, tens of millions of dollars, and I want you to do my job. How long do I have to wait?
Probably a month, maybe probably until after the holidays at this point.
So I have to wait a month. I have to get on your waiting list and spend 30, 40 grand on a design, which is fantastic. Now, how does someone emulate and become what you have done? How do I become you if I'm
Yeah.
watching this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think if you're not in the industry, get into the industry,
Yeah.
right? Go work for a company that's installing the things that you could potentially want to be a part of. You know, if you want to design swimming pools, go work for a swimming pool company and learn how they're built first. So then you know that what you're drawing and talking to a client about can actually happen. And then I think there's really two ways you go. You either go freelance like me,
Yep.
or you go in with a design build on salary, and they both have pros and cons.
Yep.
And but you can't really go out freelance until you've gone out as the design build designer, right? Because you need to make mistakes, and you need somebody that will own the mistakes, the business owner, right? So that the designer can keep learning. So I went through all those. I cost a lot of people a lot of money. It happens, right? Everyone does it, and now I'm able to be freelance because I made those mistakes on someone else's dime.
So as a 22-year-old kid, because most of my audience are fairly young, 25, something like that, and they want to become a designer, just go and start working for someone else in a company and get your feet wet doing that, and then eventually you'll grow some skills and you can branch off on your own.
Absolutely.
How did you build a reputation? Because I think one of your best strengths is the reputation that you built in the area when it comes to Yelp. Because if you look, here's a screenshot of his Yelp, all 5 stars. And over 100 reviews. How many reviews you got right now?
Like 120 or something.
120. That's crazy. That's, by the way, for those that don't know, getting 120 reviews to stick on Yelp is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Not only is it difficult to actually get a customer to leave you a review, but then their algorithm makes reviews disappear. And I've begged and pleaded customers, and especially when I first started, please leave a review. Tell us how good you did. And if all of them actually did, when they agreed, I'd have 300-400 reviews. So it's very difficult. So you did it. And now, how did you build your reputation? How did you get that? Because I feel like you're very non-negotiable when it comes to the reputation that you built.
Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't ever really know that I was doing it until it all had happened. But just doing everything, people are worried about, should I do Facebook or should I do Instagram or Google or TikTok or all the things. Just do all of them. You don't have to give 100% to all of them, but I just did all the things. So, here in the Bay Area where we've got a large percentage of clients that work for Google, they're obviously going to use Google to find somebody. So be on Google. And then be on Instagram, be on Facebook, and be on all the things.
What website does the best for you on getting new people to hire you?
I would say Instagram is probably the best because design is such a visual industry. And then Yelp's really strong here in the Bay Area, so Yelp's been really good. But it's probably Instagram's the leader right now.
A lot of stories and a lot of Q&As you post. You always post Q&As.
Yeah.
You answer a lot of questions and a lot of options. One of my favorite things is when you ask people, how much do you think a swimming pool costs in the Bay Area? 80,000, 100,000, 120,000, 150,000. And I'm like, 150? No way. And it turns out 150,000.
Yeah, a lot of potential clients come in with that kind of stuff. They just love clicking, punching buttons on a screen.
Yeah.
And I always get the most leads come in when I kind of do one of those series of story posts.
And people just DM you and say, dude, I want you to do my
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people from all over the country. We only work in 2 places,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, from all over the place.
How did you want to start working in San Jose and Virginia? Why did you pick both of those? Because those
So-
are very opposite, coast to coast.
Yeah, so I started in Virginia after college, and then moved to the Bay Area with my partner at the time, who was working in the tech industry. And then we were going to stay for a while, but then the pandemic started, and I think like the first 2 or 3 cases were called out up in San Francisco. We were gone.
Yeah, you zoomed right away.
We thought the East Coast was going to be safe. Nobody was safe.
Everyone got it. And you somehow still managed to do work in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Because typically what happens when people leave an area, they just cut it off, but you didn't.
No.
You didn't cut it off.
I did
Which
not.
is probably one of the best things you ever did.
You're right. I hired one of my old bosses, actually, that was, I had sort of outpaced in the local industry, and I talked him into quitting his job and coming to work for me.
George. And he's still with you.
He is.
And he's been one of the best things ever.
George has added a lot of value to our operation. It's, you get a lot of young guys who are creative together and try to figure out how to do some edgy stuff, but you bring somebody in who's been around for a few more generations, and definitely adds a lot of value.
And he's so pleasant with the customers. Every time I come there, he's like, Tigran, hello, I want to introduce you to this and this.
Yeah, George is great.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. Now, if I was watching and I was a kid, right, and I'm 25 years old and I'm doing designs for 2-3 years and I'm gaining some traction, I'm doing pretty well, and I'm getting super pumped, how do I blow it up to a business like you have when you have 4 or 5 employees and people getting on a wait list, paying you 30-40 grand for a design? What do I have to do to get in your shoes where people just trust me?
You have to put out work that they like. And you do that by starting small and sort of building on that as you go further and further. Clients are calling me not because I'm a designer, but because they see the photos.
Yeah.
And they want their backyard to look like that.
It's very visual.
And then you throw a big number at them for a design fee, and a lot, 80% of those people go into the witness protection program, but the 20% are ready to roll. And when you live in a place like this or work in a place like this with an audience of 7 million, that's 20% that sticks around is a lot of people.
That's a ton of people.
Right.
Yeah. And then you can actually get a lot of people to hire you, and then you can take your business to the next level.
That's right.
What was the reason that you wanted to become a designer versus a design build or just a build?
I decided that I wanted to protect the client's best interests from all of the other people, because when I started in the industry, there were a lot of people out there that were taking advantage of homeowners, and I was one of them as a salesman. So taking the salesman hat off and putting the designer hat on, I could protect the homeowner from the salesman because I knew their game so well. So that's what I did.
Okay, so I'm a 27-year-old kid. I have I got my feet wet a little bit.
Okay.
I got 2 little kiddos. I got a family.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid to increase my prices because I don't know what the homeowner's going to say. What if they're like, kick rocks? I'm not paying you $4,000.
You say okay and you walk away, and they're going
Really?
to wonder why you did that, and they're going to call you back.
Seriously?
I think so.
Wow. That's crazy. So you're just saying, just do it? Just try it.
Oh, you don't talk to people like you need the business. You talk to people like you're providing a service, and if they want to buy it, let's talk about it more. If they don't want to buy it, then the conversation's over.
Because me, when I first started, I obviously Taylor's here, and when we went with Taylor to do the whole designs thing, we were charging $500, and Taylor was doing 500, 500, 500, and we were so pumped because he had like 6, 7 designs, and he had like $4 grand.
Sure.
And then it became to a point where he couldn't do 500. He
Right.
had to go to 1,000.
To get the phone to stop ringing as much.
Yes.
Right.
And then we got to 1,000, and he was swamped.
Right.
And he went to 2,000, 3,000. Now he's charging $6,000, $7,000 a design, and he's still getting work. I'm wondering, how can Taylor charge $15,000?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think it comes down to working in a place and working for people of a certain demographic, but being able to provide fresh and new ideas. So if I'm looking at a series of designers that I want to hire and everything looks pretty much the same, I'm just going to find the cheapest guy. But if I find one that stands out, I'm probably going to call him.
Catalog.
So how do you stand out,
Your portfolio,
right?
because you have a sick portfolio.
Thank you.
And when you send a customer all of your past work, that's what speaks for the price that you charge.
Yes.
And this
I'd
is
like
where
to think so.
And this is where they're like, oh, you know what? I want this vibe, and I can't get this vibe with this guy.
Right.
So here's the money.
Exactly.
So pretty much your skill set will determine how much you get paid.
Well, and experience.
Yeah.
Right.
And you've had experience 15 years.
Yeah, a little bit more, but yeah, 15 of years of fully dedicated.
That's a long time. So I right now am watching this, and I have been doing landscaping for 3-4 years, and I'm doing really well, maybe $600,000, $1 million in sales, and I have a couple guys working for me. How do I know that I'm doing the right thing? Maybe I should become a designer, or maybe I should do both. Do you think it's possible for someone in my shoes that runs a company and wants to do designs at the same time? Is that even possible?
I don't think so. I think somebody that's at your level of experience would probably hire a designer. Maybe somebody that's in their first few years and only has a couple of employees or a couple of helpers. Maybe they would either bring on a designer or start to learn the design. But there's a lot of ways to get design these days. You can have workers that are in the Philippines and those kind of places, and you can have them create designs for you, and then you just take those to your client and say that you did them. A lot of people do that. A lot of people have designers that are local to them that are sitting in an office. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it, to get design.
But do you think it's possible for me personally to do both, run a company and do design, sit behind a computer? Because a design takes you a long time.
Right.
And I've always said this. A lot of people always ask me, they're like, T, I want to start doing designs because I want to stand out. That's the main part. And it's good. You do want to stand out from everybody else. And one of the best ways to do it is provide a design to a customer. But you physically don't have enough time or brain power to manage the job, talk to the customer, and draw design.
It's two completely separate industries.
Yeah.
Yes, they support each other, but design and planning versus implementation,
Huge.
even they both have landscape before them in their names, it's two different things.
Totally different things. If you want to do both, you can't. You pick one.
Well, you can, but you're not going to do both of them equally as well.
Yeah.
Right? One of them is going to fall behind.
Or very successful either. So either you choose to become a designer, which you can make a lot of money because there's literally zero overhead besides your designers.
Exactly.
And advertising.
Computers and drones.
Yeah. But other than that, the overhead's probably nothing.
Minimal.
But the overhead, my portion of the company, is a ton of money. So you have to understand where you want to go. You want to become a designer, or you want to become a guy that owns a company, which you still own a company. It's just your overhead is much, much smaller than.
Yeah, I mean, we still have overhead. We still pay bills and all the things. Of
course.
It's a very small percentage of everything, all said and done. Not a lot of things that we can write off.
Yeah, you don't need semi-trucks. You don't
Right.
need Caterpillars,
Right.
nothing. You just get a very, very nice computer and a nice phone, and you just talk to customers and be really, really fast with communication.
That's right. As quick as possible.
Yeah. So let's say I find a guy that is a designer and he wants to join my team. How do I question him and ask him, maybe he's not the right fit?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to do is ask them about their experience, and what you're looking for there isn't to actually value them based off of their experience, but just see how excited they are when they talk about their past experiences. It's always better to have someone working for you that's excited about the design or passionate about the practice than somebody who has just been doing it because they can do it. I think that's important. I think versatility within a portfolio, are there different styles that person can perform? The modern stuff and traditional stuff. That's really important because you don't want to just have somebody that does one thing and have clients that want the other stuff. I think also construction knowledge. Designers don't need to know every single thing, but they do need to know how to talk to a potential homeowner or a homeowner that's a potential client that will then turn into a construction client. If that designer is not giving them accurate information, it's going to make your job much harder.
True. That's very true.
I think those three things are a really good place to start. And then, if somebody's looking for a job, have them do a design for you for maybe just an existing client. They don't need design. Just see how they do it, and it's less important about what the design looks like and more important about how they sell the design. I could sign up a brand new client right now, or I could give them the nicest 3D rendering, or I could give them a sketch on a cocktail napkin. They have no idea what they're going to get. It doesn't matter what they're looking at. It matters how you sell it.
Got it. If you ever want to reach out to Matt, ask him questions, maybe hire him for a design if you live in the Bay Area, this is his Instagram, and it's going to be linked in the bio. Reach out to him. He has a lot of good knowledge and information. And if you're a dude in middle America and you want to become a great designer, follow him on Instagram and literally copy paste everything he's doing.
Yeah.
See what he's doing, because what he's doing obviously is working. And do the same thing in your area and you'll find success. I've done this since I started. I literally go and I find someone that's killing it, that's doing well, and I just copy paste. Obviously, always give credit. You don't want to rip off his work, but you can definitely do what he's doing because it works.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So people can find you. They'll reach out to you. You answer all your DMs.
I do.
Yeah. He's
Yes.
very friendly. So reach out to him
Most of the
and
time.
say hi. And you'll learn a lot from him. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.